When is business as missions the best practice?
There are a number of countries that offer religious visas for missionaries, such as Panama, Japan, Brazil, Pakistan, or Thailand. If a missionary desires to move to that country for ministry, they can go on the books with that intention. However, there are a number of countries that do not offer such visas, and some particularly gospel-averse countries that would never allow missionary activity. This is where the term for the countries that typically require a business as missions approach comes from. Creative Access Nation. The meaning is that missionaries need to discover creative or non-traditional means to gain long-term access to that country. An example of this may be working for a company based in your home country that has positions available for someone to work in the missionary's country of interest. A Christian may not be able to obtain a visa as a missionary to Iraq, but he or she may get a work visa and carry out evangelistic work. The British Petroleum Company, headquartered in London, has a long history of oil exploration and production in Iraq dating back to the 1920s. They are currently developing the second largest producing oil field in the world in Rumaila and providing technical assistance to the North Oil Company in Kirkuk, along with several other oil fields in that same region that are undergoing redevelopment. British employee roles include engineers, finance and tax specialists, health and safety experts, along with digital and technological positions, among others. While India provides a religious visa for those who desire to engage in missional activities or work with a religious organization, it does not permit proselytization of Indians to another religion. So what is a Christian who seeks to be faithful to Jesus' call to win the nation supposed to do here? India is one of the most promising majority world countries for a web design company. There are many Indian web designers and developers looking for work, a strong outsourcing industry, and a national cost-effective value creation model. The convenient global time zone and the country's focus on education and technological innovation all leave a welcome message to foreign entrepreneurs in this sector. According to the Open Doors World Watch List, Oman is ranked as the 32nd worst place in the world to be a Christian. All religious organizations must be registered with the authorities, and religious gatherings are monitored to censor any political statements and refuse any Omanis from attendance. No evangelization of Muslims is permitted. Local Christian converts can face isolation, house arrest, disownment, unemployment, child custody issues, and females can be pressured to marry Muslims to legally revert them back to Islam. A Christian missionary will not be able to easily find a place to church plant and propagate here. However, it's famous for its dramatic landscapes, their exciting off-roading opportunities, their mountains excellent for rock climbing, and their snorkeling in the Arabian Sea. There's also a rich traditional culture that is well preserved. There are Islamic religious festivals, traditional dishtasha robes for men and abayas for women. Delicious cuisines exist such as the slowly cooked shewa, the traditional marinated mashwai, hot and spicy madruba, and the sweet Omani hawa for dessert. Additionally, the Omani government is actively working to increase its tourism. By 2040, Oman plans to raise international visitors to 11.7 million and designate 10% of its GDP to tourism investments. In 2024 alone, it targeted a 35% increase in GDP contributions from tourism, or $8.5 billion US. All of this swings the door wide for the start of an adventure tourism company. A Christian missionary wanting to do this could offer a range of activities such as desert safaris, mountain hiking, kayaking, exploration of historical sites, caving, and base jumping. This seems like a way with great potential to get into the country and benefit the local government and economy at the same time. It was George Verwer, the Operation Mobilization founder, who said, "There are no closed countries as long as you are willing to not leave once you get in." In Philip Jenkins' book, The Next Christendom, he highlighted the great shift of Christianity from the global north to the global south. In the early 20th century, 80% of Christians lived in Europe and North America, while in the 21st century, 61% now reside in the global South. Both Brazil and South Korea send more missionaries than either Canada or the UK. Mexico, Nigeria, and the Philippines are also significantly contributing to the global missionary movement. This majority world missions movement will also help in fulfilling the Great Commission aim of the gospel, moving to all nations, as they are more welcome in the countries where most Western Christians have little to no access. The issue is that many of these countries are new to sending missionaries and are at the early stages of developing economically. The proper care for missionaries is not fully understood. The amount of financial backing from churches is likely not sufficient, and the challenges these missionaries will face is still mostly a mystery. While many of these issues need to be dealt with individually, one in particular, financial backing, can be answered through the business's missions model. The need for outside funding can be greatly reduced through the income gained by the missionary working in the host country. As with any culture, there is an ebb and flow with generosity from generation to generation. The boomer generation is historically the most benevolent of the West. Boomers give an average of $3,250 USD annually versus Gen X at $1,371 and Gen Z at $867 given annually. The question is what will happen to global mission support in the West between 2030 and 2040 as the baby boomer generation will finish their earthly race. There's the possibility of the retention of fairly strong support with an expected $68 trillion US in transferred wealth from US boomers to US millennials, and a trend of millennials in the US outgiving Gen X with an average of $1,616 in annual giving. Still, one has to wonder how long giving will remain strong with a generational trend drop in generosity, economic woes, and a Christian-centered shift away from Western nations. It may be a wise move for more missionaries reliant on Western support to diversify their funding in the way of business as missions. It seems reasonable to think ahead and react in anticipation of the trend, rather than continuing on in a set pattern hoping for something in the trend to change. In all this talk of businesses' missions in creative access nations, it's important to take a realistic look at the general pros and cons of such a practice. Patrick Lai is a great resource for this overview, and I have borrowed heavily from him and added a few thoughts of my own. So, what are the general advantages of a business missions model? You can access closed countries through it. It gives a secular identity, and not just I am a Christian missionary coming into your country identity. It allows long-term stays in the country due to the economic value it offers. The missionary is viewed more as an everyday laborer and less as a threat to society. Flexibility in available funding is offered through how the funds can be given and more funds on hand. Authentic evangelism through everyday working connections takes place. There's job creation for Christian outcasts. The missionary is able to draw from foreign leaders, business associates, and build that professional network. There is a model given of a good work ethic. There's a reduction of dependency on foreign funding. Business as missions can involve most laity who have diverse professional skills, and they can all fill these working missionary-type roles. You can find a biblical model for business as missions in the tent-making of Paul, Aquila, and Priscilla. Now, what are some of the disadvantages? It can be challenging to balance the time between business and time ministering to people. One needs to be cautious of putting a security risk on locals who are connected to your business, but not to your ministry. Great financial and personal loss is very possible when asked to leave the country. Figuring out how to do business properly in a foreign country is no small feat. The line between smart business practice and bribery or cutting corners can be a fine line. Burnout is very possible when juggling work, family, language, and culture learning, along with ministry. The Christian missionary must prepare well for where they feel God calling them to go and prayerfully move forward in a way that will keep them serving in that field the longest.